Tēnā koutou katoa, welcome to this week's video. I'm with Rob Anderson, friend, old boy, history and geography teacher, deputy principal till the time he retired back in 2019. Welcome back, Rob. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Wonderful to be back and good to see you. And good to see the school. It's looking really good.
We've invited Rob back today to speak at our ANZAC assembly because alongside other people like Colin McNulty, Rob's somebody who during, I guess, the last 20 years or so, really did a lot of research around Wellington College and the First World War. And today you're going to share the experiences or the stories of one old boy in particular. Before we talk about him, we also have worked out that the first Wellington College ANZAC assembly was in 1921. So it's the centennial of that.
Extraordinary.
What was Wellington College like in 1921 when that first ANZAC assembly took place?
Yeah, I guess it was still growing. They called the East School would have still been here, and I think the school might have been just bursting at the seams a bit, and they would have been looking at extending the school because it was 1928 that they opened the Memorial Hall and the classroom blocks from that. So could have been a fairly tight squeeze in 1921.
We were coming to the end of the tenure of J.P. Firth, the great wartime headmaster of Wellington College.
He retired in 1920.
So we'd well and truly
that's right. So
there.
Mr. Cresswell,
right.
Yes, would have taken over. So it was a new administration after 28 years of Firth's headmastership.
The First World War would have been hanging over this community in ways we can only imagine.
Well, yes, and as a teacher, I'd imagine the teachers, the staff who were here, they would have known those boys who were killed. They would have taught them. They would have coached them. They would have been in their choirs and drama clubs, and they would know them. They would remember the final handshake they had with them when they came to say goodbye before they went off. So it'd be fairly raw for those staff. And also brothers of students who went away and were killed, and those who came back who were maimed and affected in so many ways. They would be in the schools.
When we go to ANZAC services or we have ANZAC assemblies at Wellington College now, we have these names. 223 of our old boys died in the First World War. We have their names, displayed. And really they're just names in some ways now, but what you're saying is that at the time, these were real people. So when you went to that service, there were specific brothers, uncles, children, students that you specifically remembered and were grieving, at those assemblies.
Know them well, know their stories, their families, and probably the thing about them you didn't know, you know that they had died, but often you didn't know how they had died and where they were buried, and that ache that you could not go and visit their graves would have been really tough.
In your address to the students today, you're going to talk specifically about one old boy that died at Gallipoli.
Yes, and his name was Harry Childs. I call him a one-in-a-generation student. He was a remarkable young man. Academically able, personable, superb sportsman. In his final year, he was the captain of the first 15, the first 11, boxer, swimming champion, head prefect. Then he went off to Otago University and played rugby there for Otago, boxed. And then just 20 years of age, went off to war and actually went ashore on April the 25th and was wounded soon after.
And he's on the Lone Pine.
He is.
Remembered on the Lone Pine Memorial alongside Otago Regiment, but also lots of Australians.
Lone Pine it's where Australians go to.
And I've been there with Rob.
Yes, and but also the names that are there of New Zealanders are those of no known grave because they were buried at sea. So he died of enteric fever, kind of typhoid. And dysentery, and he died on board a hospital ship and was buried at sea. So very, very sad. Such a waste of, like so many of such a promising young person, had so much to live for and so much promise.
Our ANZAC assembly is one of our sort of more solemn traditions and rituals at Wellington College. Why is it so important that we continue to honour this tradition.
Yeah, I think we should remember them because they were boys just like the boys we've got now. They were coal boys.
Yeah.
And we should always remember coal boys.
Yeah. And JP Firth, who we mentioned at the beginning, you know, he was so instrumental in memorialising not only our memorial hall, which is the Wellington Cenotaph, and for him, these were students that he treated like sons.
Yeah, he called them his soldier foster sons.
Yeah, they had no children of their own. And at this stage, the school was a much smaller boarding school.
Knew them all, wrote every night, would spend hours writing to them when they were away.
Rob, thank you so much for coming back, sharing this with our school community and being part of continuing this tradition, which we do always in the closest school day to ANZAC Day. So thanks so much for being here, and thanks to all the parents and the students and the wider school community for your support during this term. Have a great break. Ka kite. Bye bye.
Goodbye.